This is for county clerk candidates. To deepen your impact of being a public official working with an anti-racist lens, do you commit to attend a public official workshop that focuses on anti-racism, equity, empowerment, and accountability, hosted by Isaac? And as part of the Kalamazoo County Apportionment Commission, do you commit to work to end local gerrymandering? That is, to ensure fair district lines and to work to end systemic voter suppression in Kalamazoo.
Good evening again, Meredith Place, Commissioner, and also candidate for Kalamazoo County Clerk, Register of Deeds. Yes, and yes. I am committed to attending the anti-racism workshop and will, if elected, encourage all the staff in Kalamazoo County Clerk and Register of Deeds office, which includes over 10 individuals, to also take anti-racism workshop and become a more culturally competent staff at the county. In addition, I also believe that adequate funding and representation are on the line if we do not have a clerk who is fighting for fair and equitable boundaries as a member of the Apportionment Committee. Thank you again for having me. And again, yes and yes.
County treasurer candidates. To deepen your impact of being a public official working with an anti-racist lens, do you commit to attend a public official workshop that focuses on anti-racism, equity, empowerment, and accountability, hosted by Isaac? And as part of the Kalamazoo County Apportionment Commission, do you commit to work to end local gerrymandering, that is to ensure fair district lines and to work to end systemic voter suppression in Kalamazoo?
Thomas Whitener for County Treasurer. My answer is yes and yes. Anti-racism training is something that I've dedicated myself to in my own free time and in my work as a realtor. It is something that affects the way that we do our business in real estate every day. And it's something that is very important to me personally with the way that I'm raising my daughter. As far as the gerrymandering and redistricting the lines, I despise gerrymandering. My grandfather was United States House of Representatives and was gerrymandered out of his seat twice. And as someone who has seen the effects of that, I will work to end it in our county. I was happy to support the anti-gerrymandering amendment that we made, that we got through on the ballot in 2018. And I will be excited to work towards ending gerrymandering in our county after 2020. Thank you.
I am Reverend Jocelyn Mason. Law enforcement officials of the judicial system, leaders, and candidates, when your name or the office you are representing is called, please unmute your mic to answer yes to this question. You will have 30 seconds or less to respond specifically to these asks. Prosecutor and Kalamazoo defenders, do you commit to work with the Anti-Racism Task Force from October 2020 to October 2021 to build a culture of trust and legitimacy between our law enforcement, criminal justice, and our community, as exemplified in Pillar 1 of the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing? This would include collaborating on the following. Share what is already being done in your department, agency around trust, transparency, anti-racism, education, and training. Educational components including the History of Law and Racism workshop and a follow-up debriefing session. Acknowledgement of harm to facilitate healing and trust. Participate in collective visioning and movement sessions with law enforcement, criminal justice, and community neighborhood groups for relationship building through local anti-racism and healing work together. And do you commit to attending a cultural competency workshop focused on working with immigrant community members facilitated by El Concilio? And Kalamazoo defenders, do you commit to give a workshop presentation about your work for our Indigenous community members. And prosecutor, as part of the Kalamazoo County Apportionment Commission, do you commit to work to end local gerrymandering, that is, to ensure fair district lines and to work to end systematic voter suppression in Kalamazoo?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Jeff Getting. I'm the Kalamazoo County Prosecuting Attorney. First, let me take a second to thank everyone for attending this Isaac's Convention and for your commitment to making Kalamazoo a better place. It's always heartening to see all the good people and all the good work that is being done. Second, absolutely, I commit to all of the asks of Isaac and to working together with all of you and each of our partners in making, in answering each of those asks. Lastly, I'd like to say that I will continue to work to ensure that my office, the Office of the Prosecuting Attorney, and our criminal justice systems, both locally and at the state level, address systemic racism so that we have a system that is fair and just for all. Thank you.
For you all to consider the Pledge of Allegiance that was recited at the top of this meeting, particularly with it ending with "and justice for all." I'm asking that you take to heart the depth and true meaning of the short word all with carrying out your duty.
One district where a person of color is likely to be able to win is not enough. We have 3 people of color on the commission now with 11 districts. People do not want to lose any of that representation after so many decades and generations of underrepresentation.
I just want to note for the record my strong support for, having a conversation with folks that these types of decisions will impact is of paramount importance at this point.
The people of Kalamazoo County, your constituents, we're not asleep. We see what's being done and we need better.
So I think you should also, on October 12th, listen to what people are saying, take a step back and really look into your hearts at what we're saying in this community.
We currently have the most diverse board of commissioners that the county has had. We have 6 women, 3 of whom are people of color, and 1 is an out LGBT representative. Cutting the commission to 9 districts is also going to cut our diversity.
In the current reality with districting and gerrymandering, the candidates choose their voters. To make all voices heard, we need the voters to choose their candidates.
You currently have 3 9-district maps that you're considering. None of these maps are acceptable for our community. You have forced the community to pick a lesser of 3 evils, which is the map.
Or this afternoon, how exciting it is to see an opportunity for this board to continue its work in collaboration with the community. There's an opportunity for an upcoming collaboration on October the 12th by a number of organizations that are representing Black, Brown, and Indigenous people in our community.
On October 22nd, 2020, Isaac held our virtual public meeting, and we were so excited to have officials, law enforcement, and elected officials agree to Task Force Ask. We have recently shared this video footage with the AC members, where County Clerk Meredith Place, County Treasurer Thomas Whitener, and Prosecutor Jeff Getting agreed to various anti-racism task force asks. Our clerk, treasurer, and prosecutor agreed and affirmed in comments to the following ask. As part of the Kalamazoo County Apportionment Commission, do you commit to work to end local gerrymandering, that is, to ensure fair district lines and to work to end systemic voter suppression in Kalamazoo?
But what I really would like to emphasize is this is an opportunity to build trust in communities, and then the value that trust and relationship building has, specifically in areas such as addressing gun violence and reaching people, connecting those people to resources that are needed. So it's about this issue, right? But it is actually a broader context of building trust in our community and having people buy in and believe in their officials.
Kalamazoo is a diverse community that needs diverse representation. Failure to do so will be turning our backs on and silencing many people of color and community members who make up Kalamazoo County.
I would like someone from the Edison neighborhood to represent Edison so that they can speak to the language that we speak, someone that can understand the difficulties that the community is facing.
The inclusion of a more diverse community. What I really like about living in Kalamazoo, I come from the East Coast, is that it is a diverse community with a lot of participation in the cultural life. And I think this should be reflected in the reapportionment.
There's been almost zero input from anyone in the community who supports moving to 9 districts on these calls. Every effort should be made to assure folks that have been historically underserved that their voices matter.
It seems like the 9 have been chosen, but we really have not had a say. The Black community, as well as white people that live in that community, support the 11 to 13 seats. So I hope that you'll take this into consideration before any vote is done.
Please do not vote today. Please do not take a vote until you actually give the people of Kalamazoo County a legitimate opportunity to participate in the process instead of to simply make comments that you ignore after you have made all the decisions. Thank you.
To failing schools, to disproportionate outcomes in health, to infant mortality, to job and housing discrimination, racism has remained a presence in American society.
And whereas we as a governmental body have a responsibility to ensure equity for all Kalamazoo County residents, whereas this Board of Commissioners urges other governmental bodies to declare racism as a public health crisis and to immediately take steps to intentionally address and support methods that will strategically reduce the long-term impact of systemic racism.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners hereby declares racism as a public health crisis in Kalamazoo County that affects all members of our society on a local, urban and rural, state and national level, and demands action from all levels of government and society.
I would ask the Apportionment Committee to not vote on a map today.
My personal concerns are related to the effort to cut the commissioner's seats to 9. I strongly believe that by reducing the seats to 9 is an effort to silence the Black community and Brown community. I believe we need 11 or more commissioners on the board to effectively represent our community members and their concerns.
So I ask you that as an ally and an anti-racist, use your privilege and power to advocate and influence this committee to include the voice of the BIPOC community. There is no statute or law against this. Be humble and redraw racially equitable maps that center the North Side, East Side, and Edison. Go ahead and then divide the county into an equal population as practical with that 11.9% deviation. And this would be into 13, 11, 14 districts that maintain that deviation.
Let it be known that a 14-district map featuring the North Side and East Side and also featuring Edison and Vine could be created. And I'd like to explore that at a forum later on. And let it be known that we could not find one Michigan case, or not one case in Michigan that we find that actually ruled a map invalid because it was pursuing racial equity over the 11.9 equal population. Of course, there's a lot of case law on the issue, but just not on that point alone.
Once again, because of white dominance and white racism, whether conscious or unconscious, Black people are being forced to choose an option that merely reduces harm to them rather than one that creates racial equity.
All segments of our community have shared comments in support of racially equitable maps that center the North Side, East Side, and Edison. I urge you to listen to the community and delay the vote until a later date.
In observing meetings of the Apportionment Commission,
There are two actions that caused me great concern about the way you are making decisions and proceeding in the process. The first was in the early declaration of your intent to choose 9 districts with a weak justification, when the community, especially BIPOC members and white allies, objected to reducing the seats and provided strong reasoning. There was no willing acknowledgement of this or open consideration of its feasibility.
And finally, I'll say this. I don't know if any of you have ever watched the movie A Time to Kill, where the white folks wanting to convict the black man, and it's only until they decide to take a step back and look at things through his eyes that they gave a just verdict in that case. And so that's what I'm asking you to do. Put your shoes, put your feet in the eyes and look at it from a person of color, person that's brown, person that's black, to see if your decision for those lines would still be the same. Because right now it just appears that this information, this outcry, has fallen on deaf ears. And if you draw those lines, as if you live there, as if your family lives there, as if your life depended upon it, I think that the lines would be drawn.
I'm calling in support of new districts that have racial equity at their heart. The North Side and East Side should not be divided. Edison, too, would best be served by being its own district. 14 districts would best serve our community for the next 10 years and beyond.
This was not the right thing to do. This was not the right thing to do. And again, as a community, we are still willing to meet with you in a special session. Are you?